Hello, and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris Deluca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and we are once again back here in the month of August, in the late stages of August. We have about a month and a half left of the regular season, and then we're going to be going into the playoffs. So things are heating up here. And as you can see behind us, we have our special guest, Schroeder. This is his second appearance on the show. He made an appearance right when we first adopted him about 3 months ago, but he has decided to go make his home on my bed while I do this recording. So, yeah, he might have some opinions. He might chime in here on today's topic, which will be the potential conference realignment and even expansion that Rob Manfred talked about in Williamsport, Pennsylvania during the Little League Classic here on Sunday. So we'll be discussing that. But as always, we're going to get into the news first. The Pittsburgh Pirates called up Bubba Chandler, their number one pitching prospect. He is the seventh overall prospect in Major League Baseball. And a lot of Pirates fans aren't really happy about this one because he struggled in AAA Indianapolis with a 5-6 record and a 4.5 ERA. Not exactly the best numbers here. He was in Altoona and AA last year, and he hasn't even played a full season in AAA yet this year. So a little bit early too, especially kind of where the team is relatively right now. Obviously, not going to be competing this year. They're very far away from competing this year, but they decided to bring him up. I have mixed feelings on it. I always definitely think that the best exposure and training you can get to be in the major leagues is being in the major leagues. You have that opportunity to be playing against the best of the best. He's going to start in a reliever role, so active Friday. So I don't think it's the worst idea, but also I don't think it's necessarily the best idea. But put in the comments, if we have any Pirates fans here watching, do you think it was too early or too, not really too late, but do you think it's too early to call Bubba Chandler? So next piece of news here is Victor Robles, was suspended 10 games for throwing a bat at Joey Estes in AAA Tacoma. Victor Robles is on the 60-day IL with a shoulder injury, and he's obviously appealing the suspension. You can look up the video. It's actually kind of crazy. He gets hit in the hands, and then he just immediately throws the bat right at Joey Estes, former Oakland A's pitcher. And yeah, getting suspended, that's something that will happen when you throw a bat at a pitcher. So I definitely think that he is deserving of this 10-day suspension. Honestly, should be more, if you ask me. Nathaniel Lowe has been DFA'd by the Washington Nationals. The former Texas Ranger was traded to the Nationals this past offseason. He had a .216 batting average, 16 home runs, and a negative .4 WAR this year. This is his worst statistical year, but he was picked up by the Boston Red Sox. I think that's a really good move by the Red Sox to pick him up. I still really like Nathaniel Lowe. He's a guy I've been big on for quite some time, and I wish him the best of success with Boston back in the American League. So with that being said, final piece of news here, Kyle Schwarber takes over the National League lead with his 45th home run. He did that on Wednesday, so the Philly is leading with 46 home runs. Or excuse me, 45 home runs. So conference realignment. That's what we'll be getting into briefly here on this episode of Dugout Debrief. And I have a lot of feelings about this, but first we'll explain some context for you. Rob Manfred discussed the possibility of potential expansion and also geographic realignment. And it was very vague what he described. He said this, like I said at the top of the show, at the Little League Classic in Williamsport, Pennsylvania on Sunday, which was rain delayed. Quite an entertaining game, though. It's always interesting to see baseball games at non-traditional venues. They obviously had the Speedway Classic, which did not go very well, but the Little League Classic, they have a little bit more practice with, because I've done this before, and also it's a baseball field naturally, even though it's a much smaller baseball field because it's for Little League Baseball as opposed to Major League Baseball. But anyway, they talked about potentially moving teams into other divisions. There's a potential. I've seen different models, so we're going to be kind of talking about that here, and then potentially even abolishing the American National League, which I don't like. But I don't like, plot twist, I don't like this very much anyway. Breaking news. I don't like the idea of any of this. And then as well, they also discussed potentially expanding in Charlotte, North Carolina, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Portland, Oregon. Obviously, they're basing this off of the assumption that the A's do eventually get their stadium in Las Vegas finished, and they stop playing in a AAA stadium. So some of the models here, and I'm just going to kind of go over them. Some of them go completely geographic. So one that I found here posted by the MLB on Fox would have the National League Midwest, Central, Southwest, and Northwest. So it would be in the Midwest, it would be both Chicago teams, Cardinals, and the Reds. The Central would be the Royals, Rockies, Rangers, and Astros. The Southwest would be the Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and Diamondbacks. Not having the Giants there's weird. Then the Northwest would be the Mariners, A's, Giants, and then the Portland expansion team. So I'm really not big on that for a variety of reasons. One, you're getting rid of classic rivalry. Just Giants, Dodgers obviously has been a rivalry since they were in New York together when they were both in New York back in 50s and back. And two, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that Major League Baseball has been moving in this direction for quite some time. And I had mentioned this, I think, in one of my earlier episodes last year, that I do like the idea that everybody plays everyone. I like interleague play a lot, but I feel like this whole movement that they've been having is moving toward this, which is abolishing the American National League. In this potential realignment, they have the American League and National League, but it becomes meaningless because you have the White Sox going into the National League, which they've been in the American League their entire existence. You have the Astros going back to the National League, who they used to be in the National League, for those who do not know, and they expanded. In the 60s, they were in the National League up until, I want to say 2011 or 2012, when they switched to the American League and filled that void in the West, because the AL West was always missing one team until the Astros got moved over. But I think that it just gets rid of the traditions. I'm not one of those old sticklers about tradition being like, we need to always follow the exact same way that baseball's always been. It can't change. But I think this is just as bad as that golden at bat rule, which I ranted about a couple months ago when Rob Manfred mentioned that. I'm hoping that it's just one of these things that he just mentions just to get people to tune in. It is a primetime game. It is at a special location. And he was just seizing the opportunity to end up on ESPN because, one, this is the last dead time before football. NFL is about to start. So baseball is the only sport really going on. Hockey's about to start here soon, too. The NBA, college basketball, eventually after that will start up, too. So baseball will not be the number one. But right now, at this time here in August, baseball is number one. But regardless of that, I just can't agree with that. I mean, both Chicago teams, yes, they should play once or twice a year. I would say once a year is best, but they shouldn't be in the same division. That makes no sense. You're also taking away, the Cardinals playing teams like the Pirates that they've played for years and years, for entire existence. So just not something I can agree with. Moving over to the American League, the AL Northwest is the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Phillies. Now that also, getting to my other point with this, is a gauntlet. There are divisions here that are not really gauntlets. The National League Midwest, for example, being the Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals, and Reds, is much weaker than putting the Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, and Phillies in the same division. You're putting the two best teams in their current divisions and then just putting them in the same. That is not fair, especially if you're only sending one or two teams per division to the playoffs. But then you have the Great Lakes, which is the Twins, Tigers, Brewers, and Blue Jays for some reason. Then the Mid-Atlantic, which is the Guardians, Pirates, Nationals, and Orioles, followed by the Southeast, the Charlotte expansion team, Rays, Marlins, and Braves. So none of this really makes sense. Again, this is all potential. This is just what Fox came up with. I've seen different ones too, but this is what they've been moving towards for a long time, is trying to abolish the leagues, which I just don't think that's a good thing to do. I mean, it sells tickets when it sells enough tickets when you have a team from Toronto. You have the Blue Jays playing the Dodgers in Los Angeles once and going to Toronto. you're going to sell tickets because you're going to have Blue Jays fans in LA and then Dodgers fans in Toronto. That sells tickets, but making these gauntlets just does not make any sense to me whatsoever. So overall, this model I don't like. I wouldn't mind if they made a couple division moves potentially. There are some that are a little bit weird to me. I mean, the Pirates being in the Central is always kind of weird, but again, everything now, I think a lot of this too is based on travel time, which to me, you pay for that for a reason. I mean, travel, it's an expensive business operating a baseball team. And I don't think that putting the Guardians and the Orioles or in the same division, or the Mariners and the Giants in the same division, I don't think that's really going to save much travel cost anyway, because a lot of these you're going to have to fly anyway. So it's regardless, you're utilizing either your private jet or contract or whatever you use. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So with that being said, here's the big thing that doesn't make sense to me is the expansion, the potential expansion, which I'm going to get to here next. So Charlotte, North Carolina, I think is a good idea. Salt Lake City, Utah could be a good idea too. Portland, Oregon could be good idea too. Here's my one big issue, and I've mentioned this before. The stadium deal with the A's is still really, really out there. They have nowhere else to go. They're going to be playing in a AAA. They have a plan, but they're going to be playing in a AAA stadium for the foreseeable future, for the next few years. And this is something that they want to do by like 2028, apparently. That they have a plan. You have something even worse going on in Tampa with the Rays, who are playing at a spring training facility that they don't even own. They will never go back to the Trop. The Trop's totaled. The insurance company totaled it. You don't want to go back there anyway because they want to move out of there anyway. All these stadium deals have fallen through. Your best case scenario is that you sell the team and you move to Orlando. That is your best case scenario. They don't have any vision or any idea what they're going to be doing next, and that's really, really bizarre to have that situation and then to not really acknowledge it and then be like, oh, we're just going to expand. Major League Baseball does not need to expand right now. When you have two teams playing in a minor league facility / a AAA or / a spring training facility, you have two teams that are essentially homeless, yet you're trying to bring in more. Plus, the number one expansion city anyway that you should be going for wasn't even mentioned, and that's Montreal. You've had a baseball team there that was successful. The only reason they left was because it was a bad stadium situation, which is what the Rays are in right now. So none of it makes any sense. Do I think Charlotte would be a great location? Yes. I think Charlotte could easily support a baseball team. You have a big gap there between Atlanta and then Baltimore, Washington, that area. You have a big market gap there. Baseball is really big in North Carolina. There are a lot of, famous baseball players who are from North Carolina, and it's a big sport in this area. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of guys who can definitely speak for me on this channel who are North Carolina guys. But with that being said, if you desperately want to do something, then move the Rays to Charlotte. If you want to finally move them out of Tampa, out of Florida, they've struggled with attendance even when they've been good. They've made the World Series twice in their existence, and they always have a great farm system. We always say Rays are going to Ray. But I just don't think that they're ready for expansion. So move the Rays to Charlotte. There was all this talk about splitting the Rays between Tampa and Montreal. No. Montreal will not take anything that is not the Expos. No. If you want to put the Rays somewhere, put them in Charlotte, put them in a new market. The Hurricanes were relocated from Hartford and did very well in Raleigh. And they still are doing very well in Raleigh. Even when they were really, really bad after they won the Stanley Cup, they still had the Caniacs. There is the sports market in this area, Charlotte or Raleigh. I definitely think could support a baseball team, more likely Charlotte, because they can split with South Carolina there. And you have that extra population, around the suburbs of Charlotte too. The Panthers have been supporting these NFL teams, so it's different. NFL teams draw attendance regardless if they're good or bad to some extent. But you're talking about a lot of games. You're gonna have to draw people. So Salt Lake City, not a bad location either. Just got a new hockey team. I would say it's a novelty. You could see it's an expanding market because Las Vegas has already been expanded to, and Portland too. They have the Blazers, and there's also a small gap there too, market gap there too for baseball because you have Mariners, and you don't have anything till the Bay Area team, Giants. So I don't know. I just can't get on board with expanding when you have two teams that need a home, and I think that you should go more of the relocation route as opposed to that. And then the final point I'll make with this as well is you have multiple teams that have hostile owners that actively do not want the best for their team. You have John Fisher, the A's, Bob Nutting of the Pittsburgh Pirates, not investing in their teams, letting them fail, setting them up for failure. You have an ownership problem. You have a stadium problem, Rob Manfred, yet you're still trying to expand. And I think this is all smoke and mirrors because baseball is about to not be the most, it's the only sport going on. And it's about to not be the center of attention anymore because we have the NFL season coming up here soon. But yeah, put your opinion in the comments, guys. Do you think it is time for MLB to expand and do geographic divisions, abolish the American National League? What do you guys think? Or should we just tweak it? There are compromises we can come to, but I think this extremeness, it's all smoke and mirrors, guys. I'm not a fan of that. But with that being said, we're going to do our series of the week, Power Rankings Trivia, and we will head out of here for this Thursday afternoon. So the Dodgers and the Padres are my first series of the week. It goes to San Diego. The Dodgers swept the San Diego Padres in Los Angeles after a pretty bad slide there. Going in tied, leaving up by 2 games was a great feeling for the Dodgers. They go to San Diego. They're currently in a critical series with the Colorado Rockies, and the Giants are currently playing the Padres right now too. So Giants getting a little bit of help for the Dodgers with Dodgers who are struggling. So Dodgers at Padres. I'm excited to watch that series down in San Diego. Red Sox at Yankees. Another rivalry. And this is actually really meaning something too, because Boston is at a really, really interesting time overall here because it is kind of do or die for them. 68 and 59. Their game difference with New York. New York's 4.5 behind Toronto currently, and then the Red Sox are 5.5 behind Toronto. So fighting for that, not only fighting for potentially trying to catch Toronto, but also fighting to try and catch the wild card. I mean, you have Kansas City, who's really hot right now. They're 8-2 over the past 10, 65, 61 with Kansas City. Cleveland is also hanging out there. They've been sliding a little bit, and then Seattle as well. So you can't forget about these teams. I think that could easily determine the wild card this year. And then finally, Padres at Mariners this coming week as well. We have 2 Padres series here. Padres and Mariners, first place in the both Western divisions. I mean, potentially at stake. See how Dodgers and Padres do in the weekend series. Padres might be in a position where they could pass the Dodgers, get a little bit of distance between them, and then Seattle also with the opportunity to catch up on the Houston Astros. Very surprising Houston Astros, by the way. I really do. I really do like them when it comes to their chances this year. Obviously, don't like them as a team. I'm a Dodger fan. But that being said, here in the next couple weeks as well, we're going to be doing our predictions. I mean, it's almost September, so we're going to be doing our predictions coming up very soon. With that being said, power rankings time. New York Yankees, aforementioned, are getting hot. They're trying to catch up 4.5 behind the Toronto Blue Jays. Philadelphia Phillies been pretty good too, maintaining consistency. Toronto Blue Jays at number 3, Detroit Tigers number 2, and the Milwaukee Brewers, who had a 14-game win streak snapped by Andrew Abbott and the Cincinnati Reds this past week, at number 1, maintaining number 1. And by the way, shout out Andrew Abbott, a great start for him, making it 7. He's had a great run this year. So if Cincinnati is to make the wild card, I think he would be a main reason why they do it. So, but that's going to be for a later episode here, as we're going to be talking about our more updated, revised playoff predictions. So, last week's trivia question: what year were the Angels founded? Los Angeles Angels, the Anaheim Angels, Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim, whatever you want to call them. And that was in the year 1961. They played at Wrigley Field and not the one in Chicago. There is a Wrigley Field in Anaheim, California, which a lot of people do not know. So, with that being said, who led the league in home runs in 2013? And there are actually two people. So there's two right answers here. One would make sense. The other, you might have to think about a little bit. But if you get one or two, put them in the comments. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you once again for tuning in to Dugout Debrief this week. And always, thank you for watching Boom Broadcasting. This is a fantastic project that we have going where we're just guys talking about sports. Michael Davis is back with Out of Pocket here as we have the NFL season starting. Can't forget about Quick Hits. Can't forget about the Gridiron Address, which I will be returning to here in a few weeks. You will see me here in a few weeks on the Gridiron Address talking about opening week. I'm very excited for the NFL season to start, but I'm very excited to keep watching baseball here because it's about to be my favorite time of year. My favorite thing to do on a Sunday is to sit back with two TVs, one with Red Zone and the other with Big Inning, and just relax on a Sunday afternoon. And I cannot wait for that, guys. That being said, once again, thank you for tuning in to Dugout Debrief. Have a fantastic week.